Good morning, Manna fam. This week we're sharing different testimonies from across our short-term missions trips this year in 2024, and we'll get to hear from people who took steps forward in faith and saw God move. This morning we start off with a man I respect and admire immensely, the president of Manna University, Dr. Carlos Serrano. He's going to share a story that ties into Psalm 24, verse 1, which says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein." We're going to see how he saw that principle in action while on one of our short-term missions trips partnered with Filter of Hope in Cuba.
What's up, Manna Church? My name is Dr. Carlos Serrano. I get to be the president of Manna University. I remember going recently on a Manna missions trip to the island of Cuba. It felt like most of our team on that actually consisted of Manna University students and faculty and staff and alumni. I felt right at home on that trip. Now, I've traveled the world. I've experienced some very challenging places from the Middle East to Southeast Asia, but Cuba was a different level of challenge. It's easy to watch the news, to read reports, to even read history books and form a judgment about places like Cuba based on our stereotypes, preconceived notions, even fear. It's easy to forget that God is at work everywhere, all of the time. I loved how our Manna trip leaders helped us develop a heart for the Cuban people months before we even left Fayetteville. We took the time to prayerfully study Cuba's religious and cultural realities. We did that not to gain an upper hand, but to have a better approach, so that way when we were reaching people, we were coming to them with a place of empathy and understanding. It reminds me of Psalm 24:1 that says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein." What I love about that verse is it's a bold declaration and promise that the earth and all of the people belong to the Lord. Were there people in Cuba who needed clean water? Of course. Were there people walking in darkness in need of the light of the gospel? Absolutely. However, and this is huge, we can never forget that the kingdom of God has a church. The church is people, and the people of God are on the move in Cuba. What I love about Manna Missions is that we partner with local churches to come alongside and serve what God is already doing there in those nations. I'll never forget standing in a young lady's living room in Havana as she decided for the first time to follow Jesus. Not long after, one of her neighbors, a believer, came in crying and overwhelmed because she'd been praying for her friend to receive and follow Christ. The earth is the Lord's and all of the people. His heart is that none should perish. His heart is for the lost. His heart is that we, his people, would be his hands and feet, even in the most challenging places.